New Zealand climate change. Everyone has an opinion on climate change and carbon footprints, especially politicians, the World Economic Forum and some extremely wealthy people flying around the world in their grossly polluting private jets, telling everyone else how they should live. Here are some simple truthful facts for you, which can be verified on the very informative site Worldometer. The links are in the video description section below. Greenhouse gas emissions. Carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide and fluorinated gases are converted to carbon dioxide equivalents to fairly compare global pollution contribution on a country-by-country basis according to the 100-year global warming potential of each gas. Based on this data, New Zealand is responsible for less than 0.2%, actually closer to 0.1%, of the total global carbon emissions, and for comparative purposes, China is responsible for over 30% of the total global carbon emissions. What this means is that if New Zealand disappeared off the face of the planet right this second, it would make absolutely no difference whatsoever to the issue of global climate change. Politicians and our bribed New Zealand media are well aware of this fact, so they immediately twist the data to confuse the people by making the carbon emission comparison on a per capita basis, because it makes New Zealand look worse and therefore easier for politicians to sell the idea of new taxes like livestock emissions tax, etc. I won't bore you with the math examples, but comparing global carbon emissions on a per capita basis is inappropriate for many reasons and often meaningless. On a per capita basis, one of the worst countries on the planet for global carbon emissions are the Falkland Islands, with a population of around 3,000 people. How bad is that? I repeat the statement, one of the reasons, if not the only reason, politicians and the New Zealand bribe media use carbon emissions per capita rather than the more balanced and correct comparison data of total carbon emissions is to deceive and confuse the New Zealand public for the purposes of fortuitous tax grabbing and population control. Recall COVID fearmongering? Well, this is how you fearmonger using climate change. Use per capita emissions rather than total emissions. Nobody mentions in the media how terribly polluting the Falkland Islands are and why they should be punished. I wonder why. One thing is for sure, even children at intermediate school know this, that punishing Kiwi farmers with a livestock emissions tax or making everyone in New Zealand drive an electric vehicle won't make the slightest bit of difference to global climate change or stop cyclones like Gabrielle clobbering New Zealand. By all means, use technology to improve the environment for humans, cleaner air and water, less polluting emissions and so on, but don't degrade and punish people purely for the sake of politics. Perhaps some common sense is called for. Stop planting trees alongside power lines. Stop building houses in danger zones such as ocean surge, flood, fire and land stability. And stop deceiving and punishing people solely for political gain. Remember, New Zealand is responsible for less than 0.2%, actually closer to 0.1% of total global carbon emissions. And if New Zealand disappeared off the face of the planet right now, it would make no difference whatsoever to the issue of global climate change. Some informative charts now follow. Thank you for listening. Wangari Tim.